House of Representatives confirms service chiefs. The House moves to give states more responsibilities in the administration of correctional facilities. And House approves 11 billion naira for police trust fund. A very warm welcome to this edition of You and Your Reps. My name is Victor Azu. Welcome to the program. The House of Representatives has confirmed the presidential nominees for appointment as service chiefs. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports on this and other highlights of House plenary.
The confirmation of Major General Lucky Rabo as Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Ibrahim Atahiru as Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral Awul Gambo as Chief of Naval Staff, and Air Vice Marshal Isiaka Mao as Air Force Chief followed consideration and approval of the recommendations of the Special Ad Hoc Committee set up by the House to screen the service chiefs.
We questioned them on various topics. Mr. Chairman, we found them worthy.
The House thereafter commiserated with the Nigerian Air Force over the loss of 7 officers as a result of an air crash.
Send a delegation to the Chief Air Staff to condole Mr. President of the ugly incident that happened.
Other features at plenary include the adoption of a resolution to investigate National Primary Healthcare Development Agency over allegations that the agency breached provisions of the Procurement Act in the implementation of capital projects captured in the 2020 budget, and the call on the federal government to reopen the Warri Airport considering its economic relevance, as moved by Representative Afe Obe-Irakpefe.
Indicating that the airport is viable and still meet up with very necessary precautionary safety measures, especially during this COVID-19 epidemic.
The Constitutional Amendment Bill, sponsored by Representative Garbadetti, seeking liberalization of minimum wage to allow all tiers of government determine wages for their workers, generated debate.
Of item from the exclusive legislative list to concurrent, particularly now that the clamor and agitation for true federalism and devolving power from the center to the federative units.
We are not yet there to allow states to go and determine. Some will tell you what is the percentage, which is true, what is the percentage, but then workforce in Nigeria and minimum wage should be allowed as it is in the Constitution.
Mr. Speaker will be giving them license to hide under the law of ability to say, I am sending the workers for a 3-month vacation to work without salary.
We will allow this bill to pass the second reading, but we should put a caveat that no state in this country will be allowed to pay less than 30,000.
Also debated was the bill from Representative Benjamin Kalu, which seeks removal of prisons from executive list to enable establishment of correctional centers under the concurrent list. The House passed for second reading a bill sponsored by Representative Hassan Al-Araba, seeking the repeal of some sections of Nigerian Correctional Service Act to enable parole for persons serving life sentences for murder.
Now, the new Nigerian Correctional Service only came into effect in 2019. So how might the alterations to the second schedule of the Constitution affect it? We engaged sponsor of the bill and Chairman House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Benjamin Kalu, to find out.
You know that currently we are battling with COVID-19, and the protocol of that COVID includes social distancing. So when you put people in a room that's supposed to take 100 people and you put 700 people there in the name of correctional services, reformatory services, how will you apply that protocol? We copied democracy. We are copying everything about good governance. It is important for us to know that there is a respected protocol. That's a standard, global standard that was adopted by United Nations in 2015. Either they call it the Mandela model or something. Now, are we complying with that? No, we are not. Because there is huge congestion in all our prisons. What is the way out? Because if you leave it as it is, those people will come out not reformed. They will come out more hardened. How do I achieve building more reformatory centers across the country? It's by sharing the burden between the federal government and the state. And as long as that issue remains on the exclusive list, it will remain on as the mandate of the federal government, not the state. But if you move it from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, it means burden will be shared, where state offenses will, have a space that they can manage, while federal offenses can use the federal prison. That is one argument. In some crimes, what they are doing is serious offenses. They categorize it under serious offenses and non-serious offenses. Offenses of 2 weeks imprisonment, 3 weeks imprisonment, they go to state prisons. Major offenses from 2 years, like in Australia, they go to federal prisons. That way, you find out at all time, the federal prisons will maintain the number that has been designated to maintain, while the frivolous, imprisonment practice that is happening in our various courts will be reconsidered by the judiciary to make sure that the lower number of people go into awaiting trial. And the space meant for awaiting trial should not be the same space that you're keeping convicted, hardened criminals. Because those awaiting trials end up becoming hardened criminals by the time the matter is decided and they are not found guilty. And at the end of the day, the majority accepted that it's supposed to go for second reading. The next one is for it to go to committee level, and then the process of, and it has been referred to ad hoc committee on constitutional review. They have a lot of work to do there, and I'm sure the states will have an input to make because it concerns them. I know the states are going to argue we don't have funds to be able to run a prison service, and the body should remain with the federal government. But there is a way to structure it as well, to make sure that the state will be assisted in one way or the other to be able to meet that obligation and for us to have a cleaner reformatory system in our country.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives says personnel of the Nigeria Police Force can be the best in the world only when they are well equipped with state-of-the-art crime-fighting tools and provided the necessary training. Now, this thinking prompted express approval of more than 11 billion naira for the Nigeria Police Trust Fund.
The amount is the allocation to the capital components of its budget and will be used for the purchase of specialized operational vehicles, procurement of ammunition, protective gear and medicals, among others.
About 533 million will be used for the procurement of drugs and equipment to the Nigerian police personnel who are the end users, which form part of the core mandate of the Police Trust Fund.
The House at plenary urged the federal government to lift employment embargo placed on ministries, departments and agencies as moved by Representative Sani Bala.
In addition to the 2 million Nigerians previously projected by the World Bank, a further 5 million Nigerians have been said to be facing poverty as a result of COVID-19.
Other resolutions passed by the House include that tabled by Representative Kabir Idris on the need to enforce safety standards at recreation centers in the country to prevent injury and death of fun seekers, citing the case of 10-year-old Khalifa Suleiman, who died at an amusement park in Abuja last month. Meanwhile, the lawmakers have called for the inclusion of cervical cancer vaccine into routine immunization program to prevent its spread, as moved by Representative Bamidele Salami, while the motion from Representative Haruna Mushelia urging the infusion of transformational funds into basic primary health care was also adopted.
Manpower and basic medical equipment are grossly inadequate to make the primary health care centers function 24/7 as stipulated by the policy.
the need to end the spate of communal clashes in parts of Taraba State to prevent further loss of lives, and a call on authorities to intervene and stop ongoing killings in parts of Akwa Ibom State were reiterated by House members at plenary.
Have you ever heard a member of the House say the words "point of information" during legislative debates, and the member is accorded immediate recognition to speak by the presiding officer? You may also have been wondering why the phrase tends to have this seeming magical effect on proceedings. If so, then this is where you need to be. Stick around as we join Chairman, House Committee on Rules and Business, as he sheds light on what the phrase "point of information" really means.
A point of information arises when there's a contention over the clarity of an issue, a decision is to be taken by the House, and then if a member has enough information or relevant information on the subject matter, he can now call the attention of the presiding officer, who is the speaker, or the chairman of a committee, that he has an information. Then he'll be given the opportunity now to express that information, that yes, he has information so, and then which will now guide the House or the committee to take the appropriate decision on that particular subject matter.
And we now know that the 9th House of Representatives is taking the ongoing constitutional review very serious, going by how members are working at it. But it does seem that individual members are motivated in this regard by the wishes of their constituents. So, you and your reps engaged the member representing Ihiala Federal Constituency on what he and his constituents will be looking to change in the process.
One major cardinal thing that, in fact, if reviewed holistically, would act as a ground norm for massive grassroots development, massive grassroots drive across the entire states of the Federation, is local government autonomy. In its real sense of the word autonomy, financial and administrative autonomy. Forget the section, I think section 82 or so of the Constitution that talks about that. It is still that same section of the Constitution that still creates the joint account. Yes, for states and for local government. That has to be expunged completely. Local government should be seen as a third tier of government, which is what it is. You have the federal, you have the state, you have the local government. Because the autonomy, the lack of financial and administrative autonomy has bedeviled grassroots development. It has inhibited grassroots participation. Councillors, what do? They don't know what they do, because all over the country, they are littered with transition members. You have a local government chairman, he's answering caretaker chairman. There's nothing like caretaker chairman in the Constitution. That word is strange, is obese. It is not enshrined in the Constitution. So we need a fully, dutifully elected local government system that is functioning, where the people can come out and stand and elect councillors, elect local government chairmen. So some of all these small things that states engage, imagine a state engaging in drainage activities in local government. Imagine a state engaging in waste disposal. What then is the local government? These are things that when the local government are fully functional, it will provide jobs for the people within that local government. It will provide exposure, and it will even make government nearer to the people, because local government has a direct proximity to the people. The federal is very far. How many of them can come to Abuja here? The state is even far-fetched. It's in abeyance for some of them. But local government is the one that is within reach. So that is the first cardinal thing. Then we can also look at our Electoral Act. Yes, I know you say that there's an Electoral Amendment Act 2010 and all that ongoing. But aside from that, we need to get it enshrined in the Constitution the core tenets of free and fair election, which will be able to enhance popular participation. Candidates with widespread voters' reach can be able to win and be declared for offices so elected. So there has to be a holistic review of the electoral, not an amendment, like a complete overhaul. A complete overhaul. And there is time. Time is of essence. We have time. 2023 elections is two years apart. And I'll use this medium to implore other legislative arms, especially the state legislature. I was not here in the 8th Assembly, but I'm very much aware from the inquiries I made that the resolutions passed, especially in local government administration, in getting an independent, functional local government autonomy, which includes financial autonomy and administrative autonomy. I'm very much aware that at the federal, it scaled through. But when it got to the state assemblies, they killed it there. If whatever you're trying to amend, if it does not add grassroots value, if it does not add, if it does not put a taste to the board of the grassroots, it's irrelevant.
Recent incidents of violence in some parts of the country has led to renewed calls for the creation of state police, which is already one of the highlights of ongoing constitutional review in the House of Representatives. But what do the people think? Let's find out in this Vox Pop.
I will advise my representative to support state policing. The reason is that it's the state and the people that is in the states that knows everything about the states. And if they have their own police, they will be able to manage their state by themselves, not from federal. They will be able to manage the security of the states. So I will really support it. State policing will help combat the security challenges we are having.
Looking at what we are experiencing now, if you don't know the terrain very well, that's what you can do. And then apart from that, we know who is who in the community. Your antecedent will determine how you will be treated when this community police says you are the one to effect arrest and do some other thing. So it's highly encouraging. And more so, managing them will be very, very easy. It's the environment, they know where they can fund for another resource or some other thing. Corruption will be maximally reduced if we are using them. And then the police, the conventional police will be able to synergize well and be able to police the country very well. I really support it.
It would have been a good idea, but we're looking at it, the implication politically. Others people that, okay, if someone that is in government, they supported the issue of the state police, the governor now will coerce them to their self for their own, they will only use them for political purpose. When somebody is in government, he will use state police to protect his interests. And somebody that will come as a neutral person to contest, they will now be against him. So I think I'm not in support of that.
Police cannot do everything. If they can support the state police, it's good to put more people on security issues. But me, I believe that's very, very, very good. So we need more hands to be for more security for this country.
As it is presently, we know that the federal police are not living up to the task. Possibly because of equipment, maybe because of human capacity. So the coming of state police, we should be able to give them first-hand information on what is happening at the background. Those in the community there They don't know those that are coming in as criminals. But if you have the state police, they are within the communities. They should be able to fish out those that are not trustworthy among them. Now, the state police will not go to be on its own alone. They'll have to also work with the federal police. There and then, we'll get down to have to tackle this issue of insecurity in our country.
This week on You and Your Reps, the committee segment examines the workings of the House Committee on Public Petitions. Let's meet the chairman, Jerry Alaboso.
The committee is made up of about 40 members, 41. And our duty is to look at petitions submitted by individuals and government parastatals. And the rule is that the petition must be presented in plenary by a lawmaker. That gives it authenticity. And after that, the Speaker refers it to the Committee on Public Petitions. It is one of the special committees set up at every section of the legislature. It is special in the sense that it handles a lot of petitions. And because the members are supposed to be nearer to the communities and constituents and constituencies. So they are always receiving petitions from individuals and other governments, functionaries, like some lawyers, right on behalf of individuals and governments and corporate bodies and corporations. And as far as the jurisdiction of the committee is concerned, we have oversight functions on Public Complaints Committee, Public Complaints Commission, sorry. And we oversight their budgets too. And also we look at everything concerning the Public Complaint Commission. We look at it and look at the budget. And also, we must ensure that most of the petitions are not frivolous. For instance, any petition that does not carry the signature of the petitioner, all the pages will not be considered. Any petition has a separate piece of paper attached to the petition where the person must append the signature without looking at the main petition will not be considered. And in that case, that petition will not be laid by any lawmaker in the plenary. So we have other rules, like people should not come to the committee room to give false evidence. They must not also embark on misconduct. And they must say the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. As far as we are concerned, when you are being interrogated. We have a lot of interrogative tools. We also talk of interactions. We maybe investigate some of the petitions to see whether they tally with the rules of the petition as far as the House is concerned. You look for somebody representing you and giving the petition to present in the plenary, and the Speaker now refers it to us. If you don't see anyone, you can use a lawyer. You can even approach any other member, provided the petition is not frivolous, to put it in the chambers and then it's referred to us, to the committee. That's it. The lawyers can write too. This year we have about 200 petitions so far received, I've been able to execute and finish about 60 of them so far. And because of pandemic, COVID-19, we have not been able to go further because we keep on shifting. But now that the whole thing is being maintained, everybody is being careful in terms of social distance, and all the working tools we have, like sanitizer and so before you come in, you're temporarily checked in the office. We have started again, but initially we were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but now we have resolved. We'll be meeting in spite of the fact that we are afraid of this. We meet Tuesday to Thursday every week. At times, if it's necessary, we go into Fridays. It's become so important that it must be considered. We look at it on Friday. So we are very, very busy. That's it. And it's for us to meet up with the petitions.
We hope that the House Committee on Public Petitions will be able to deal with all the complaints before it and bring succor to all those in search of justice. And that's you and your reps for the week. We hope you enjoyed it. The next edition promises more education and information. My name is Victor Azu. Join us again.